And as promised, I have Mike here from the Werewolf Journals. Hello, Mike. How are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm full of a bug, as you know, but you've had some, shall we say, action or interaction over the past couple of days, and we both wanted to get it down, didn't we? Well, it was fresh in your mind. So give us an update.
Yeah.
What have you been up to?
More or less towards the end of December on the 30th of last year, I did a usual trip into the woods in the green area, and there's a recent lodge area where I've been going to. There's been a bit of a slight pick-up in activity.
Yeah.
Well, this one particular day, where the path leads towards this wider path where you turn left or right, and you can sort of turn left and go to this lodge area. I kind of suspected there was something rather big in front of me. I mean, it was sort of a ghost thing, but I just got the vibe something was there. And I sort of turned left, went to the lodge area, had some sausage rolls, started throwing them out, and I sort of made some short videos. And while I was filming, I think the second or third video, there was like this flicker up across the screen, which I noticed. And it happened 2 or 3 times, and it just seemed as though they were very close to me. Because sometimes in the pictures, when I take pictures, I'll have 1 or 2 to the back of me. Yeah. And then maybe 1 to the front. And, they'll kind of stick part of the head out. They won't come out fully, but just enough to see them. Yeah. And on the video where you see the flicker, as I pan around from left to right, at about the 50-second mark, there's something at the ground level quickly darts back into cover under the brush, and it's a dark object. But it was just, videoing, there was this flicker. And it was about sort of 7 foot, 8 foot dot. And it kind of cuts from my right to left. Yeah. And when I was sort of tracing my steps back, I came across this huge print, which I took a picture. I used my left foot. I mean, I'm a size 11. I used sort of my left foot as a comparison. And obviously, I sent you the picture, and you know how big that print is. It
dwarfed your foot. It was about 3 times the size of your foot, wasn't it? And that image is on the website for anyone who wants to see it. There's a link in the video below. Just pop over to the website and you can see both of the videos and you can see the print that Mike's talking about. So sorry to interrupt you there, Mike. But
No. Well, the thing is, I think the owner of this particular print is maybe or slightly bigger than the one that came up to my car last. Yeah. And that's when I said that it was about the size of the car. And I think this chap is probably a foot or 2 foot bigger. But it was just huge. Yeah. And I mean, I've seen big print, like 18 or 20 inches in length, but this thing was just it was a real monster.
I think. See, the mainstream people will say, oh, that doesn't possibly happen. But as I was a mainstream person for many years, for about 25 years, I have seen that with my own eyes. And I've also experienced something that's like, I call it the fizzle. Some people call it like the glimmer. Other people, we all have our own personal words for it. And there is, on the northeast coast of Britain, there's actually an account, and they call him the Glimmer Man. And it's that kind of, you can see the energy move, and you shouldn't be able to see it, but you can with your own eyes, and there's no explaining that. Now, I'm a pretty down-to-earth girl, and I have to see things with my own eyes to believe them, and I've seen it done, and it's as if something's moving 20 times faster than us, and all you catch is that energy at the end of it kind of thing, and sometimes if you really look at it, there's a bit of a trail that will come off that. And people don't believe you when you say it, but it does happen, and it's happened to me.
Yeah, it's I've had it happen. I over the last couple of weeks when I started reconcentrating on the lodge area.
Yeah.
And I mean, this time I've gone to the right side of the main residential area, and there's a lot more dens. I found a new one today, and oddly enough, there was I found this old girl. She was out on a trail bike, and she was actually having a look around it. And when she saw me, she just quickly came back and got on a bike and paddled off. But I call this the boss's den.
Right. Does it have that feel to it? Yeah.
I've never seen it before, and it looks fresh, and it's big.
Right.
So, but at the same time, if you turn right, if you go along the pathway, and say you got ends left and right, there's actually a pathway off to the right, and it's like this wonderful open space. I would call it like the backyard.
I get you. Like a big clearing. Yeah.
And I found a trail cam there.
Ah. Right.
So I took a picture and I left a selfie for whoever put it there.
Yeah.
I'll see my face. And I was just kind of thinking whether maybe the chap with the Merck estate had left it. But it's right in the middle of. There's no pathway, there's no track, there's no animal tracks in the area. I mean, it's quite sort of overgrown. There's a lot of broken trees, branches around all over the place.
Right. That's the second time I've heard that this week. That's the second time that and I don't think Stu will mind me telling people that at his research area he came across last week, I think it was, a camera, a GoPro camera, and it was actually pointing at some eggs that had been left. And we were ruminating whether it would be maybe forestry or poachers or something like that. We couldn't really work out. Yeah. The only thing we could think of was maybe mink or something. And they're normally found around rivers. And I'm not familiar with Stu's area, so I'm not sure if there is a river that runs through there. But I'll get back to him and I'll ask him about it, because it was about 3 days ago when we spoke about it. So that's why it's fresh in my mind. And the idea that there's this camera pointing on nothing, really. Quite interesting, that, isn't it? I'll have a chat with Paul and Claire as well and see if because he collects stories, as most people know, and he has a much wider network than me. And he would know if there are other people who are finding cameras that are out there in their areas. So I'm just making a note to myself now while we're chatting. But I mean, for you, it's been a very long journey. When I say a very long journey, I mean for some people it can take years and years. And you were quite accepting at the beginning, and you didn't go in with all this listening to what everybody else tells you to do. You just decided to go in yourself and go off your gut. And it's kind of paid off for you, because for the last 18 months, you've gone from nothing to quite a lot of activity. Now, here's another one where people say, oh, she is an absolute loon, that woman. But what tends to happen is people who are out researching, and it might be happening to others out there, you start to notice these strange things like quick darting shadows at the side of you.
Yeah.
And the feeling that you're being watched consistently, mostly on your way out as well. And you start to pick up on knocking, don't you? And little subtle things where you think, I am not on my own here. And then you get the little peeps where you say that you get a little bit of a head, or you get a little bit of a shadow movement. And to me, I wonder if they're a trial in some way. You know, are you going to come back with men in camo and guns, or are you just going to carry on about your business? So you have just carried on about your business, and I honestly think that's the way to research, is to just go in and instead of hearing a twig snap and consistently telling yourself it's something else, just breathe and just try and carry on with that moment. And you might find that things start to open up around you, because they have for you, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, there's started to be a lot more visible. I mean last year, certainly from February to May.
Yeah.
The whole creature would quite literally show itself, whether it's in a tree, where it would just come out of the undergrowth and go right in front of me. And toward the end of last year, 2017.
Yeah. Yeah,
last year.
Yeah, that always happens. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the wildman activity, sort of January through to about April, and then the wolves appeared.
Yeah.
And there was no wildman activity, and it was just all wolf. And you'll say, follow me out. You know, I see their heads pop up, or where they're hiding. I started taking them food, and now I get sort of 3, 4. I mean, the classic way is 2 behind, 1 in front.
Yeah.
So when I kind of get the feeling there's something behind, I quickly turn around, and sometimes it'll sort of be looking at me, and it'll sort of think, what do I do? Where do I hide myself?
You caught me. Yeah. Sometimes, as you know, they show themselves on purpose. It seems purposeful what they do, Because it's happened to me, and I thought, why not just stay hidden? I mean, I must interest them in some way to keep popping up. And when I went out last time, I went with my daughter, and I didn't say anything when we were there. And it was her that said, Mum, can you see that over there in that bush? And I said to her, that's what I see. That's what I see when I'm out in the woods. And I turned and I thought, I wonder if she can see the other one. And she went, what's that one over there? And I went, exactly. And they stayed there and we filmed it. And nobody's going to believe me when I say this, but when I got home, that was the only video not on my phone.
Really?
Honest to God, and on my grandchildren's life, we stood, the pair of us, in awe, going, oh my goodness. And they were just dark shapes that we used in the trees to hide themselves within the shade. And we filmed them. And I was on film pointing at them, and I'm thinking, this is too good to be true. This is too good to be true. In a minute, they're going to come running out, and it's going to be kids. And they wasn't. And when I got home, it wasn't there. I made her go through the SD cards. I got a bit, when you get, like you did when you knew that you took that photo and you couldn't find it. I thought I was cracking up. It was not anywhere on my phone or in my cloud. So, strange things are happening to me as well as to you and a lot of the other people out there.
Yeah, it's... I mean, one way of sort of they let me know that there is this stomp around.
Yeah.
Largely a branch or a twig, and they'll just deliberately stamp on it, and you can hear it's a heavy crunch.
Yeah.
So they put some force in it, and obviously trying to get my attention, but that normally happens when I'm leaving the area. I mean, on the second video, I think there's about 2 of them that follow me out, and there's one hunchback figure, and it just sort of turns to its left and goes back, opposite from the way I'm going towards where I'm parked in a lay-by. And then there's another one where I think I see a head, but it's very quick. It's sticking its head out of a bush, and you can see the golden eyes, and then you see the muzzle.
Right.
And that quickly disappears. But normally they follow me out just to make sure I go.
Yeah.
But today they didn't bother.
Right.
So I sort of sit 5-10 minutes. Longest I've ever sat is 15.
Yeah.
I sit there with coffee and sandwiches and biscuits, and of late I have been taking them like bacon, chicken, and sausage rolls. And then today I sat for a whole half hour behind a den, and I could see a couple of really dark black objects on the far side of this open area where the trail cam was. And it's just the dampness of the black, this black object.
It is. It's dark. Yeah, it's darker than the blackness around it.
Or, the way the light is coming in through the bush or anything like that. It's just really a really dense black. And I know they're watching me from there.
Yeah.
So I try and throw them food and entice them out. But so far no one's been brave enough to come up with me. So.
They don't do it on our terms, though, do they? That's the unfortunate thing. Yeah. They don't. It's all about what they want to give, isn't it? Rather than what we want from them. And for me, I'd been worried. Some people have been in the same situation recently where they've gone back to their research areas and there's been forestry commission in there or builders, and it happened to me. Yeah. And I didn't see any sign for quite a long time. And I wondered if it was, hey, we're back, because I'd found a sign for the first time in about 2 years, and I was really excited about it, and that's why I wanted to get back down there. And that's what it felt like. It felt like, don't worry about it, we'll adapt, we'll do whatever we need to do. We're absolutely fine. And look how close I am to all of your neighbours. And I'm absolutely fine. And people just wouldn't believe that. You speak to Claire in Malden, and they are using the river and coming up through some urban land. Because that's what we've left them to. We've made them do that by building there, if you get what I mean. And you tend to I always find sign. People will say, oh, you have to go into the peaks and you have to go in. I always find sign on where you get like a new build or the end of a urban conurbation where you get green belt and then it's fields and then small woods and brooks and streams. I think you find more sign there sometimes than in some of the bigger areas. Because
I'm definitely convinced now that, they do come into town.
They do, and that's, yeah, I always say never state theory as fact, Debbie, never state theory as fact, but I wouldn't have seen him in a town if they didn't come into towns, and I wouldn't get sighting reports from towns if they didn't come into town, you know what I mean? So to me, I know that they do, and that's the scene in those kind of areas. Greenbelt area is fantastic because you can't build on it. There's a lot of farmland there, so farmland needs food. Yeah. And there's just a lot of areas that have just been left to nature, isn't there? And you get on some of them riverbanks and they're dense. And you can move for miles along them. A lot of the anglers that we get reports of say the same. That at night on the riverbanks, you can't see what's about, you can hear what's moving. But, I took an account this week from a guy in exactly that position where he's fishing and he's camping at night fishing. And he said, whatever walked through that camp, I could feel the ground move. And I was too frightened to open my tent and look out. And I'm a big lad, Debbie. And I was like, I understand it. I really do understand it. And he said, no, you don't. Because I'm not scared of anything when I'm out there. But I don't want to go fishing again. And I just thought, you have no idea how many people have said that to me. And I said to him, don't go back at night. Go back in the day and it will look smaller. If you can look at it in the day. Going at night is not great, is it, Mike? That's their time, yeah.
I think I'll stick to it because, they were just running around causing such a fuss. I was like, I'm going to go.
There are areas where you should not be in at night, yeah.
Food and coffee, to sort of keep me going until about 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I sort of
it's a different atmosphere at night. I think and if you're looking for structure and sign, it's sensible to go in the day because you'll miss it at night. You won't see, you won't pick on half of the stuff that you're finding in the daytime. So daytime research for me is a must. Because you want to check an area out and know it like the back of your hand, don't you, really? And then you'll know all these little subtle things. Because the other researchers will tell you, and you'll say the same. You might find sign there one week, and it can be gone the next, and it'll pop up in an area a mile down the road.
Yeah. There's some new activity. On the main road as you come out the top of Reading, Caversham, and you cross into Oxfordshire, and you sort of out towards Chasey Heath, and then you carry along the
towards that Lee Valley,
towards Benton. Yeah. There was some new sort of tree sign there that wasn't. It's only probably recent in the last 8 days since I travel along there going towards Benson.
And sometimes it can change overnight as well. Some of the signs.
It was just. The picture of the upside down tree den. That I took a picture of. The next week it was gone.
Yeah, it can be that quick, and people don't believe me when I say that, and they go, "Oh well, it's kids," and I think, well, some of the areas that they're going into, you wouldn't get a kid in there. It doesn't make sense. The Lee Valley's important because I've got accounts on the Lee Valley. There's a growl account from Nick. Which I think is important because he's using what we call up here, we call them the bankings. It's like where you used to have railway lines and they make it into like a cut through, and the banks are really steep, aren't they, and just left to nature. And he was shadowed down there one night, and he said as he walked, it walked, and as he stopped to try and catch it out, it stopped, but it was taking it was keeping pace with him, and he was on the easy path, and that was in all the debris and the broken stuff, and it was easily keeping pace with him, and it was kind of skirting coming down as it was following him. It was coming down towards the path, and as they kind of sort of met, it let out this tremendous, he called it a growl and a snarl in one. And I thought it was dusk, it was dark, and I think he was they were making sure he was out of that area kind of thing. Because if they'd have wanted to whip him, they could have whipped him, yeah. That shadowing thing is a bit frightening. Yeah,
I've got I've got two type scenarios for this, especially when you get crowd. You got the farmer, get off my land.
Yeah, exactly,
crowd. And the sort of turn around, you're not welcome because we're busy.
Yeah, exactly.
Come back later type growl.
It is, and when I'm just looking on my map now at your area where we're talking about now, and I just want to let people know that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 accounts in that Colne Valley area alone, and that's a river valley that runs through. There's a lot of fields and woods there, isn't there? And you think it's...
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I could just take a whole month off and just go round all the way from, say, Chasey Heath up to Benson.
Yeah, it just keeps going.
And all around there, because I even though they look like little woodcots isolated on fields, but, when you look at Google Maps from the area, a lot of these are connected just by little paths, and where one tree line ends, another starts. And really, there's a lot of these woods that are interconnected or co-joined.
Or you'll find a brook or a stream that'll join them, or a railway line. Even marinas and places like that. It sounds really silly. Golf courses are a wealth of reports. So if you've got an old river that's running at the side of a golf course, and they connect, I think that's the corridor here where I live. There are a number of sightings on the golf courses themselves. Well, there's lots of critters on a golf course at night because it's really fresh, nice grass. You get a lot of deer on there, a lot of rabbit and stuff like that. Ideal place for a quick snack if you're on the move. And then you take into account the sites on the motorway embankments. So you see in the last one that I got from the motorway was the M6. They described that as, she said it had a snout. It was big, thick and muscly, and it had a snout, and it was moving along the embankment. They were going north, and it was going south. And then Risley, not too far away, again, a van driver driving at night to 3 o'clock in the morning, and it crosses the motorway from one country park to another that's connected to golf courses that then run down to Dunham Massey, and then you can just keep going then until I connect up with you. Green Corridor wise, so it's a massive route, and would have been an old foraging route. So why would they not follow those routes? Because that's where the food is, and that's where the shelter is, isn't it? Yeah, the habitat's there.
This is another thing that's kind of puzzled me. I know I've said, like one time, there's just no rabbits or anything, and obviously there's just loads of deer in these woods. There's a lot.
Squirrel.
And, I was going to say, last November I saw one drop out of a tree.
Yeah.
I'd been walking around, it was right above me, and it must have been waiting for these 3 deer to come, and it dropped down and got one, and it was gone. But I have heard, one time, I heard that there's a lot of shooting cows in this area. And one time I heard a cow that was just...
in distress,
and absolutely in agony.
Yeah.
And... it's not like it was baying because
it needed milking. Yeah, I get you. There is a difference. I know what you mean. And
but it just seemed it was like mirroring in pain. Absolute agony. And I sort of came out of the wood, and I was still on this, literally on Dead Man's Lane. There are some isolated houses.
Wonderful name, yeah.
seeing if anyone was going to come out
Yeah,
and start, like, what the hell's going on? And there was nothing. And then the other day I was just pondering on this. And I was thinking, maybe if one or two of the locals are actually feeding them.
you never know. I was wondering about the lady on the bike. I wonder what the lady, when you're speaking at the beginning. And
Yes,
is she another researcher? She's clearly noticed the same structure as you. Is it her camera?
Yeah, could very well be.
Mm.
I mean, I often wonder. We do have some, sort of recreational types.
You'll get bikers and hikers and walkers and that kind of thing.
But she seemed to have noticed this.
Yeah.
And when she saw me come out of the pathway that joins onto the main one, and I started walking down, she literally sort of came down the embankment, got on the bike, and just paddled off and said, I said good morning.
Yeah. See, nobody'd know when I'm out. I would imagine people think I'm just out with the dog, or because they don't know what I do as, they don't know what I do as a hobby. And I think there are lots of people out there that are researching that we don't know about anymore. But like you say, she might. I always wonder has she seen anything here? Or I always want to, try and bump into them again and ask them and that. But it's not for everyone, that, is it? A lot of people won't take you on and stuff. But some do. Some take you on and are all right about it. Didn't you say you'd taken somebody into the area with you? I might have misunderstood.
I was trying to convince someone, but there's still a certain reluctance.
It'll happen when it's meant to, yeah. It will. I know Stu I've always wanted to take a medium into the research areas and the areas that we find things, because I think if they can pick up on energy, or maybe they can pick up on something. And I have spoken to a couple of people who said, you kind of get this. And you get this kind of canine type energy, or you get this like human type energy, but not energy. And I'd love to know if there's like psychics out there in the woodlands, that are having kind of experiences and not realising what's going on, because it's a source I wouldn't mind tapping into. Because if it's all connected to energy, well, people who work with energy may be able to tap into that kind of that wavelength that they're on, kind of thing. I wonder if that's what the fizzle is, in all honesty. I just thought, because it looks and feels like energy. To me, it looks like thousands and thousands of gold gnats all moving together in a kind of humanish shape.
Normally I just get a vibe or
that feeling.
Just honestly, the literal hairs on the back of my neck will just literally stand up and I get goosebumps.
Yeah.
And then I know, that basically I'm being watched and, someone's on guard duty. Making sure I don't do anything daft.
I've had giggles, I've had voices, I've heard my name. Trying to think. Whistles, weird, strange, like really quick, high, sharp whistles. I'm trying to think about strange stuff that's happened to me when I've been out there. Quick running feet is the scariest for me. Like these really quick running feet, and it's like energy that moves really quickly past you, and it takes me breath and it scares me. And it's only happened. I think it's happened about 3 times now, and that's in the space of about 15 years. But I remember every single one of them minutely, and I've never put it together with the Bigfoot stuff. I used to think I saw a strange thing, and these things have happened to me throughout my life. And it's only by talking to other people where I've thought, actually, maybe they're connected in some way. The strange things I saw when I was a kid and all of that. Maybe they're connected in some way, and I think that's kind of where I'm going. My research is kind of going that way, because I just keep thinking it's so coincidental that when you speak to other witnesses, you speak to other people, and they have the same kind of things to say to you, and they say, "Oh yeah, when I was a kid, this happened," and I think, "Oh, that's really strange because that happened to me as well." Maybe it's a certain type of people who picks up on that energy. That's theory again. I know, but
I definitely sometimes think it just depends how sort of well tuned you are. You know, some people, you know, don't have that ability, or what do you call it, gut instinct, or intuition.
Trusting it as well.
Yeah, I just think a lot more people are. Some people are just better tuned in than others, and you can sort of sense it a lot quicker, and maybe detect. You know, when you have a visual contact, you'll see it. And sometimes I think they actually know they're just going to get seen, and then you'll see something. It's just too quick, but they were definitely there. And they just seem to somehow anticipate or have a second chance. Thinking, oh my God, I've been spotted.
And
I've seen, the little one from May when I was in Zone 1, and it just quickly turned around, and I mean, he had virtually, say, chest up, neck, head, arms, and he was just sort of like, what do I do now? He was looking left and right. He was like, what do I do? And he just ducked down, and it was gone.
I mean, they may make mistakes, you know. Like, we make mistakes. That might have been he's only young, he's learning, you know. If you think about it like that, he might have just made or he's a bit cheeky, and he
it was just such a human thing, though. I mean, that's what's so funny about it, or strange. It was just like, oh, bugger, what do I do? You know?
Oh, I misjudged that.
Like embarrassment, sort of puzzlement, puzzled expression on his face.
Yeah.
And it was like left and right. It was like, oh, what do I do? And he ducked down, but I tried to find him, but he was gone.
I was talking to a couple this week from America, and they won't mind me saying, and they basically gave me the same thing that you just said. It was a young one, they said, and it kind of popped up, and it was just like, what have I done? You know, but it was night time, and they were coming. I think they were coming back from somewhere. It was just south of where the Carter Farm, Bigfoot, Fox, and all that story went on in the 80s, 90s. So it was just below there, and she just said it the same way. That she said she's going to sit down and write it out for me so I can share it with everybody. But she called him the Monkey Boy, and she said he just kind of popped up. And the look on his face was like, what have I done, you know? And that's kind of what happened when I looked at the one that I saw. He looked as confused as me. But I panicked and screamed and performed, and he didn't. He just leant back into the green and he was gone.
Yeah.
But that was what I recognised. Years later, as an adult, I thought he was just as confused as me, and I don't think he was much older than me at the time, and I was in my early teens. So, you know, I think it was a bit of either impatient on his part because we've been there quite a while, or just a mistake. He just made a mistake. If he hadn't moved for that fraction, I would never have seen him, and it was just that fraction when the light changed. And suddenly I could see him. It was like making eye contact with a bush. I don't know if they refract the light in some way. Yeah. And if he hadn't have made that slight movement, I wouldn't have seen him. I would have just carried on, and I wouldn't do what I do now, and I wouldn't speak to all these people. And I think he didn't have to move. Maybe it was just a muscle, you know. It was just involuntary, and how strange. But maybe it is like that sometimes. Maybe it is just a mistake on their part, and we catch them out. And hence you get the sighting kind of thing.
Well, I mean, when I saw the young one running in between the trees, I think it was last September or August time.
Was that at Sherwood, Mike?
And he saw it running in and out between the trees, and it was just, it was so fast, but it was just wonderful to see him.
Yeah.
Or her.
Yeah. Was that? Can I ask? Was that at Sherwood? Am I right? Was that at Sherwood Forest? Cannock?
No. This was up in Nooney Woods.
Right.
And I don't think he sensed me or she sensed me, but I was at quite some distance away. But I just saw this black darting movement, and it was just like zigzagging in between the trees.
Wow.
And it was, it was only on the same morning, I think, or the week before, when I'd taken a picture of him, and I'd sort of enlarged it.
Yeah.
And he's kind of looking up at me.
That's
And this is where the parents,
yeah,
right at the very far end, and one's on all fours and the other one's sort of stood up, leaning against a tree. But it was amazing to watch. I mean, they're just...
it's a one in a million,
so
isn't it? Yeah, like fluid is how I use it.
Yeah.
Fluid. And it's I understand why they come across as incredibly scary. I do get that. Because we're scared of what we don't understand as humans anyway.
Yes.
And the way they appear and the way that they move and stuff like that, it's frightening because you can't understand it. And they could be on you within a second and you wouldn't have a chance. But...
yeah, I mean, it's...
time after time after time, though, it doesn't happen, does it? We don't get attacked or anything. You need a new heart when you when you get back to the car. Yeah. And you think, why do I do this? Why do I do this? What's wrong with me? And then you go back out again the next time, don't you? But...
I'm just absolutely enthralled with that.
That's me. Yeah, that is me.
If something... I'm sure if something was meant to happen to me, it would have
exactly.
happened.
Yeah, exactly.
And to be quite honest, I'm very, very sure that if something does ever happen to me in the future, it'd be quick. I'll never see it coming.
I mean, I would say, I never state facts as, bits to say, but I can honestly say that me and you, 10, 15 years' time, will still probably be chatting, and you'll know a hell of a lot more, you know? It's just, I can understand it, because I speak to the people, and they'll say, oh, and it, it attacked, and I'll say, what did it do to attack? And they'll say, well, it growled at me from the bushes, and I think, when you turn all the noise down underneath that, it growled at you from the bushes, it's saying, move. Yeah, it's not attacked you, but I can understand why. Because, A, you've got no knowledge of what's in that bush, and anything in a dark bush that makes a noise at you is terrifying.
I mean, really, if something should have happened to me, it was when the young one that was in the den when I took the bacon.
Yeah, because you got close.
Within about 8 to 10 feet of a young cub, and all I got was a snort of disgust. Yeah. From something bigger behind me on the other side of the path in the bushes.
Yeah, I remember.
If that is the kind of reaction from a mother...
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, a mother bear had tore you to pieces for going close to her
I would kind of expect growls, teeth baring, and being chased out of the woods or something, but...
Yeah, I've been chased by swans.
I've been around long enough to know, or they know me, that I'm pretty okay, and I can go up to their young, and nothing's going to happen. But I think it was just the fact that when she gave this snort of disgust, I think, disapproval.
Yeah, they kind of tolerate you, don't they? Yeah,
that's my job, not yours.
Yeah, sometimes I feel tolerated. Sometimes I get this old grandfather feeling like, oh, she's here again. Not always pleased to see you. And then I can go for a year and nothing will happen, and I get really despondent, and I think, oh, they've probably moved or something like that, and then I think, well, they just have the patterns, don't they? And then sure enough, over time, and I think, we're back on, kind of thing. It's just, I don't know, it's not something you can do in a weekend, is it? I know researchers who give themselves a year and said, if I don't find it, that video, that photograph, within a year, I'm leaving, and I think, it doesn't work like that, really. You can't can't put a time limit on it, can you?
No. I mean, I'll be doing this. I will be doing this for a while. Well, until I can't literally physically go out anymore.
I hope I am, and I can't physically get out much anymore. But you're online and you're looking for other witnesses, and it's just. I think the worst comes to the worst. Lots of people have walked in the woods. It's not. I'm not doing anything that's upsetting anybody or anything like that. And I love listening to other people's encounters, and I just like giving people a voice. I just think everybody should get to be able to tell their story, because, there's lots of us, isn't there? There's Vic, and there's so many people out there that do it for them, and still I hear, oh, I didn't know where to go. I didn't know if I could, you know, and you think that's quite shocking in 2019. You think, well, I'm sure. Have you not heard of Vic and Dogman Diaries? No. And I think, well, there must still be people out there that just don't know where to go with this, you know, this tale or this account kind of thing. And that's what we do for him, isn't it? And then... Yeah, and then they either don't bother again, or some of them, like me and you, they think, right, well, I want to know. I want to know the answer behind this kind of thing. I used to talk to one guy on the Isle of Skye, and he was in his 80s. And that was, I would say that was about 2011, Eric. He's passed on since then. But he had been collecting sightings since 1927.
Wow.
You know? And I remember thinking at the time, I hope that's me. I hope I'm still hearing from people when I'm in my 80s, you know what I mean? And he was fantastic with me. He gave me all of his accounts. And he said to me, hey, you have them. Nobody, you know, they're just going to go with me kind of thing. And it was amazing. And I was so thankful, appreciative, lots of words mixed into one. I couldn't believe it. And I remember thinking at the time, if I don't start writing these down, they're just going to get lost. And that's what made me start, like, the map. Because it wasn't a map at first. It was just when you get a file of facts and you just stick things in it. You know, the ABC, them kind of things. I just filled one of them up. And then I did it on the wall. And then my daughter said, Mum, there's this Google map thing that you can do. And, like, she showed me how to do it, like. And that's basically how I ended up starting the map. The map's just kind of my filing system. But when he entrusted me with them, I thought... Oh, if me and him had never spoken, they would have just been lost, wouldn't they? And how many other stories are, like, lost out there? How many other people have seen them in the woods? Whatever name they call them. Generation after generation, you know, and like, I'd love to hear all those stories. I really would.
I'll just, I say we got a lot of horse riders going out and stuff. And, you know, sometimes when I come across them, or especially people walking their dogs, you know, I feel, you know, I want to ask them questions, but, you know, a Saturday or Sunday morning,
I know.
being interrogated by someone, I don't think it would be quite the sort of thing to do. But I think someday, or somehow, you know, I might bump into someone and strike up a casual conversation that might lead to something.
Yeah, it's like anything. But yeah, when you first do it, it's really nerve-wracking. And you expect the eye roll and the what? You know, that kind of thing. And that does happen. But more often than not, they'll say, no, I haven't seen that, but... And they'll tell you a story about the area. So I tend to go in with... Have you ever heard... I mean, I usually use the flag that I'm a historian and I'm just looking for interesting stories from the area. And then I'll say, have you ever seen anything round here, or anyone you know ever seen it? And I kind of open it up that way. And more times than you think, they say, well, you know, funny you should say that, but... And there's always a tale from the area that's either howling or quick, dark figures that move in the woods, you know. So, well, my Auntie Adi was down here walking the dog, and she saw... And after a while, you just kind of get used to asking, and then you become that strange lady at the bus stop who says, have you ever seen anything strange around here? Paul Sinclair will drive and knock on farmers' doors and say, have you had any sheep took? Have you had any animal mutilations? Have you seen anything strange around here? Any strange lights are out like that? Because that's the only way we're going to find out.
Yeah, I mean, some of the, one of my neighbours, I think I told you, you know, over a year ago when I was just about to leave, and he goes, what are you off to, Meg? And I thought, all right, okay, let's go.
Try it,
so, you know, I'm looking for werewolves up in Nooney Woods. And he just looked me straight in the face and he goes, oh, you should see the caves behind the university on that side. And he just walked off. He didn't laugh. He didn't do anything. He just looked me straight in the eye. So, some old caves up behind the university. You should go there, you know.
So he's seen something.
Yeah.
Or knows something.
I mean, of all the people that I've shown people at work.
Yeah.
never had a negative response. The only bit where, sort of like, yeah, all right, was on that farming forum.
Yeah, but yeah, I know what it's like. I get it off the bushcrafters and the wild campers, and I get it. It's a big ask, isn't it, what we're asking him? Because not everybody's not everybody's going to see him. But when I started with the wild campers, everybody thought I was mental, and I just said, no, we need to know what they're leaving behind in the woods, and they might have some stories, and they were a wealth of stories, and it runs in patterns for me. It was like lorry drivers. Then it was kind of, people who drive the road at night, like reps and things like that. I'd get them off them, and then you get like bushcrafters and wild campers and the foragers. And the stories at the minute are coming in from the UFO community because they're seeing dark, upright, really broad figures in the woods when they're seeing light. So lots of us across the paranormal groups as well, we're all kind of seeing similar things and reporting it as different things. So I think it's going to be like, you remember in the early days when you came forward and if you'd been an abductee of a UFO, people just ridiculed you. But over time, people started to listen. And now it's just accepted. And I think that's what's going to happen for Bigfoot research, because it's happening everywhere else across the world. And it wouldn't be building the way it's building, Mike, if people didn't have an interest in it.
I mean, I think sometimes, it's just that certain reluctance, the sort of British character is to
I understand that.
keep things in and not say anything without, looking silly.
Yeah.
But the way that the sort of network is growing or overlapping with other researchers, and I think people at some point will feel a lot more confident to come out and say, yes, I have, or, this happened to my relative, or, they saw something.
I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it with the reports because they're still coming in. Can't keep up with them. They're coming in that much. And it's from people saying the same thing. That you put the video out and it's something that happened to me or something happened to me in that area. And 2 or 3 years ago when I did my videos, I would be doing one account for each area. And now, all these years on, I'm like yours and I think, well, there's 14 in that area. And it's just building like that all the time because people are just coming forward and saying, well, actually, I saw, I'm trying to think of the ones that I've had come in this week. I get so many, they get confused. I have to take them and I put them in a draft and then I go through them really slowly. But like I say, I get that many that I've had footprints come in this week. Yours and another lady. I can see the email, but I've not opened it yet. Like you can see the tagline on the email, so I know it's about footprints, but I think that's Scotland. And most of the accounts that have come in this week have been canid creatures, and when I've looked on the map, they are all around old burial sites again. The old burial mounds seem to come into it again. So I'm just going to put all them together in one video, I think, and just do them all at the one time because there's so many of them. And we're going to send the videos over to Chris Turner so he can have a look at your video and see if he can do a bit of analysis on them. Because I know Bigfoot Tony's so busy, and Chris does film work, so he's probably the best one to have a look at it. And he said, he's. I'm sending them over to him now as we speak. So we will put it on YouTube so everybody can see it as soon as Chris has done his analysis on it. But I see what you mean in that video. When you pan, there's something that moves, a dark shape that moves as if it's bobbing out of, like, oh, I nearly got caught out there kind of thing. And you see that kind of fizzle.
It's very quick,
but I watched it before we spoke because I wanted it to be fresh in my mind when I had a look at it. But you know that area, so you know what's about there and, the best places to go. And there's lots of people asking me at the minute in Wales are looking for partners to partner up with, and Shropshire. And I just keep giving them your number because I know that you don't mind travelling. Because I want people to kind of get together and have a look, because two heads are always better than one, aren't they, when you walk in an area?
Especially when if you have one or two behind you, I mean,
Yeah.
it's sort of like one forward, one at point, one rear, tail gun, Charlie. It's sort of like a standard infantry foot patrol.
Yeah, isn't it?
In a
It's
way.
strategic. Mm.
Yeah. I mean, you got to think a bit tactical with these guys, because I mean, one, they're born hunters, and two, they think like hunters.
Yeah. It's you either get that surrounding thing where it's an enclosed circle that gets smaller and smaller, or the triangular pattern.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes so I've had 3 or 4 around me. I mean, not close, but
Yeah.
close enough that I can see them, and it's very quick. I mean, all told now, I think up to date I've had 21 contact situations.
Wow.
But it's never, the moves are never aggressive. It's
Yeah.
always like monitoring,
Yeah.
like reconnaissance.
Keeping an eye on you, yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we interest them in some way, shape or form, or they wouldn't. They'd just move from the area, wouldn't they? They'd just stealthily take themselves away.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we
But
are.
I mean, 2017, 2018, there were adults, they were young, and I used to think there was about 8
Yeah.
or so in the area, and then from sort of June onwards up to October, November, I sort of thought revised my figures upwards about 12. But
Yeah.
in the last 2 weeks, considering the activity and the lodges and the dens in the area, I would say in the ballpark of about maybe there's 20. There's certainly 4 big adults.
Wow.
There is. I mean, I certainly probably a couple of huge females and males, but there's certainly a lot of young in that area.
Yeah, it might be a long.
Definitely a breeding.
Yeah, it might. So I was going to say it might be a long-term type of area, because that tends to. They can't just be on the move all the time. They must have, because I mean they've got to have females that have babies and stuff like that. So you'd have to have some kind of safe place, wouldn't you? I mean that surely that just goes. I don't know. Maybe
I really do think they do come maybe January to April or end of March time. Maybe they go somewhere else, but certainly end of March, start of April, they're in there, and there's certainly like a lot of wildman activity, sort of start of January, going into March, and then it stops, and then these guys tip up, and obviously they're having young. But there's certainly 4 huge adults. Maybe some of the what I would call an average size of between sort of 7 and 9 foot if they were stood upright. But there's definitely a couple of real monsters in there, for sure.
I've just been having a look in the area what kind of reports there are, and it's all upright, hairy, wild man or wolves, really. There's a couple where it's figures where they've not been able to give it a specific name.
I mean, the wild man, if you go Chasey Heath, there's a pub just off the side of the road. Very good. Does a very good lunch, by the way. So anyway, the woods there, that is 100% wild man.
There's 2 golf courses there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you travel about another 3-4 miles up the road where you get Nooney Woods. The left and right in the main road. One section of that, I would say, is a partial wild man, because I've seen them right at the back there for about 3-4 months.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of it is just wolf.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's definitely a breeding ground, and certainly a main, what I would think is a main residential area. Because some of the dens that are still there today were there 2 years ago.
There's an account here from a lady from 1961, and she says, I searched for years for anyone who had a similar sighting of a very tall creature with long reddish-brown hair. He was not ape-like, not bulky or muscular, but rather substrate and tall, and try to blend in with the trees. I was with 2 friends when I saw it. Now, that was a lady in her 80s.
Wow.
And that's just off Wargrave. So not that far from Sunning Common.
No.
Yeah, and then you
Yeah,
look, and it's just nature reserve, golf course, nature reserve, common, nature reserve, golf course, with lots of little rivers, brooks, and streams. Yeah, ideal.
I mean, yeah, we got 4 golf courses in Reading, but the one up near Newley Woods is Camersham Golf Course.
Right. I have an account just past Goring, Mike. Crompton Burks.
Okay.
And that's from, I think, let me just check, 2016. And that was Christmas weekend.
Oh, right, okay.
And he's out with a, I don't know what you call them, like a remote control car, but the one that an adult would have. And he's running it like
okay.
that. I'm not really sure, but he's out with a model car and he's running it up and down, and he sees the typical orangey shape thing behind a tree looking at him. And I know that after that happened, he went back in a number of times and he took a number of photographs because he kept seeing that really quick dark thing. And I've not spoke to him for a long time now, so I don't know if he's still researching, but it was that typical orangey kind of Albany coat that people speak about. So, because I'm looking round at all the accounts that are around your research area, because I'm trying to get a judge of what people are saying. And you're right, on one side, it's kind of ape-like, monkey-ish, and on the other side, it's canine. And there's a distinct difference, isn't there? I didn't realise that until you said it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
I'm shocked.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, I'm just shocked because I never realised it till you said it. Because I'm looking at it now in front of me and I'm like, oh my goodness, yeah. There's a definite break in the pattern where it's more canid on one side, and then within that, in the middle, sandwiched in there like the jam on a butter, there are 2 accounts of what they describe as like a fluid moving energy. There's the tree snapper, where he says it goes through the trees and it's breaking branches, and he can see the movement, but not what's making the movement. And then there's another one just here. What's this one? Yeah, tree snapper again. Where he sees something coming through the trees and it's moving and he has no idea what it is. And then just on the other side of that is in the Lee Valley again, and that's a canid creature. So it's like sandwiched in the middle. You've got these, not really sure what it is. It was moving but I couldn't see it. One side it's wild man and on the other side it's canid. So you've shown me something that I haven't seen before. So wow.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether I certainly thought I'm pretty sure that the wolves eat these things, but the wild men. But there seems to be sort of sometimes I think maybe it's a time with the seasons.
Could be.
The wild men they kind of move out knowing that the wolves are coming, and the wolves move in, do their thing. But on one side they're permanently located, and then the wild men seem to go somewhere else. But in Chasey Heath, they're definitely going back a couple of years. I mean, there was definitely 2 in there. I definitely seen two in there, sort of just strolling around looking.
But the area's good as well. It's not that far from the Chilterns. You've got like the North Wessex Downs and all. There's just everywhere you look around you are encircled by habitat, aren't you, really? So it is an ideal situation where you are. Yeah. Sorry, I was just having a bit of chocolate.
So the wolves are a lot more stealthy. I think the wild men are a bit more... I mean, that one time when they were... I had this large cracking kind of a tree, and it's the one where it was stood right behind me. I took the picture of it. Yeah. And I sent you the picture. But at the time, it sounded like they were just trashing the place. I sort of have a term for them as like environmental vandals. Because when you hear them doing that tree snapping stuff, it just sounds like there's a work crew in there. Just
just ripping things to pieces. Yeah, there's a little old man
it's
in
only like one or two trees, but the sound effect is enough to make you think, "God, blimey, what's going on?"
Yeah, what's happening in there? This guy that I know called Tim, and I don't know, he now passed away sadly, but he lived in Washington State, and he was a logger, so he was there consistently in this thing. And he said sometimes it was like there was this huge territorial war going on, and you couldn't see what was happening, but you could damn well hear it, and you could damn well feel it. That's how he said it. And it's kind of right, like this territorial thing. I think Isabella's reported that up in Scotland. Yeah, I'll have to check and double check on that, but I know one of the habituations has. But that kind of invisible fight that's going on between two clans, and you think when you think about it, there's that much land out there. It wouldn't be hard, would it, for there to be more than one cryptid in the UK? I mean, it doesn't faze me that there would be.
Yeah, I mean,
because some people think we're all seeing the same thing.
Well, I really think they're a lot more common than people are willing to let on. Like I say, I think the only reason why maybe there's such a mystery about these things is the fact that a lot of people just want to keep whatever they've seen to themselves.
Yeah, I did.
If they say something, people are going to think they're silly.
Yeah, I agree. I've just been looking. There's an account as well from the 70s, from not too far away in Frensham, and that's from a guy, and he doesn't know what to call it or what it was that he saw.
Yeah.
And he was fishing. I'm just trying to pull the description up. Something. He just keeps calling it something.
Yeah.
And we're seeing this something because he doesn't have a word to put it to, really. I mean, you think about it. That's 50 years ago, isn't it? So in that area, along that corridor, even 50 years ago, people were seeing something. They just didn't know what it was or what to call it.
Yeah.
So it's not just recent accounts, there's a history of them. So if something's happening over 70 years, to me, it is undeniable that something's happening, or you wouldn't be getting the accounts over that amount of time. Do you get what I mean? You can't say that's fashion, or because people are doing it now on YouTube. Not if it was 70 years ago, you can't. And that shows me, you know what I mean, a consistent pattern throughout time. There's some in the 80s, there's some in the 90s, and there's some in the 2000s, and you think, well, that's a consistent, and people are seeing them consistently over the decades as we go through. So something's moving around in that area. There's no point saying anymore, well, there can't be, because there clearly is, or there wouldn't be that many accounts on the map. And I bet for every one of them accounts, there's probably 3 or 4 witnesses out there that we haven't spoken to.
Yes.
Yeah, there's probably a lot.
It's just trying to get these people sort of ring up or write in or email or
They will eventually.
something, because I really do. I think these things are a lot more common. I mean, they're very good at hiding and getting too close. But for me, I mean, like today, I sat there with coffee and sandwiches for 30 minutes. It's just to get curious enough, not to come right up, but certainly come out in the open and have a sniff and
using yourself as bait.
That, doesn't it? Have a sniff.
Yeah, using yourself as bait there, really. But I get that's what I do. Yeah.
But certainly get curious enough to come out and maybe a few meters away, just sort of sit down, not eyeball each other, but just curious enough to try some form of interaction.
Yeah. I do.
That's what I really want. I still want to get up close.
Yeah, I think it'll happen over time. I just think.
I really do, because.
Yeah, I do. I think if you just keep doing what you're doing, it'll be on their terms. But I do think I don't see why not.
I mean, in the last 3-4 weeks, I mean, they're really, in a way, starting to let the guard down, just ever so slightly. I'm seeing a lot more of them. So maybe this. I think this year is going to be a breakthrough year. Certainly for the hobby, and for the guys and girls out there doing this sort of work.
I do. I can feel it. It's like this. I don't know, I can see it picking up all the time. More and more people are getting in touch with me, so I'm having to get more and more people to answer the emails and stuff now, because I just can't keep on top of it. Not my personal emails, but you get what I mean, all the like the sightings and stuff like that. I'm having to give them to other people for them to do the accounts. Warren's been doing a lot of the accounts where people have described there's an account down in Dorset that I'm going to do next week where they describe this caveman almost like creature. Unfortunately, he's been able to sketch it for me. So I think more and more people are doing it. There's podcasts going up, there's people getting YouTube channels. It's really exciting for me to see it, because that's what I always wanted to happen. I just wanted other people to be in those areas and think, well, I'll go and have a look myself, you know. I'm going to go and see. And that's how it started for you. You just thought, I'll go and have a look after, you know, and look where you are now. And like, there'll be someone out there who thinks, I'm going to go and have a look actually this weekend. I think I'll go out, you know, and have an hour off and not worry about bills and things like that, just for an hour, and go and have a walk around the woods. And you never know, in 18 months' time, you might be on here talking to me and Mike. Because it can be that easy, and people don't believe that.
Yeah.
They just don't.
I mean, I don't have that much specialist equipment.
I don't think you need it.
Like, if you look at the North American Dogman Project, I mean, you know, they've got everything.
Yeah, and they're still not catching, that's it.
All kinds of gear.
I think you just got to build up a trust almost, because that's what I see in the habituation, in the long-term sites. You kind of see this long-term built kind of trust on both sides. Up in Clarver Cairns, that lady said to me, oh, we just shut the door dawn and dusk. And it was the most natural thing in the world, because she said, oh, it's just the big ginger hour, it just walks down to the net, so we just shut the kitchen door at dawn and dusk. And to her, it was as natural as anything.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was so breathtaking for me that I thought, that's amazing. There was no shock, there was nothing. There was just, oh yeah, I don't mind speaking to you about it. And he'd just kind of always been in the area. And one of the guys was a poacher and was just like, I'm just going to move because he takes more fish than I'm catching. And it was just, they talked about it as if it was nothing. You know, and I thought, I wish it was like that everywhere in the UK. But, I mean, it will be eventually. We'll get there. Because he's my...
Yeah, I mean, the couple of times when they've been in the back garden.
Yeah.
I mean, on one occasion, I left the door open.
Oh.
You know, and I was like, you know...
Trying to entice him in.
But it wouldn't budge.
Yeah. You can understand that, though, can't you? Because it could be a trap. It could, you know, from their point of view, it could be like, oh, you know, maybe I've misjudged this kind of thing. Yeah, that's it, innit? You've got to build it tiny little steps over time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes we make mistakes. I've made so many mistakes and had to kind of step back and restart again kind of thing, you know, jump to conclusions and all kinds of stuff. But they have a way of kind of drawing you back in.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would say, hand on my heart, I love them.
But yeah, and Ali will tell you the same. She'll say exactly the same about her family, as she called them. And I'm the same. It's just, I'd die for him. I'd put myself, like my kids, in the same way that I care about my kids. I really care. Yeah. I think when it's bad weather, I think, where are they now? What are they doing? Have they got food?
Yeah.
Have they got enough to eat? It kind of becomes a personal thing. And then you get really protective, don't you? And you think...
Yeah.
I don't want anyone buying that wood. I don't want anyone chopping down the trees in that area. I'd have a... Karen did. My friend Karen up here who researches. She went to the research area one day. They cut down every single tree. And she was heartbroken. And the guy could not understand. And she kept saying, I played on those trees as a child. And I'm a grandmother now. And, don't worry about it. We're going to stick some birch in. And she was saying, it's not about the trees. It's about, you've decimated the area. It's every bird, every piece of wildlife. It's gone. And he couldn't get it. He just thought she was this crazy menopausal woman.
Yeah.
I understood. It was decimated. It was just flat. All you could see forever was just mud and nothing. And it was like, oh, why would you do that? Why would you do that? And it was done so that it's easy for people to kind of build there, in all honesty. It's that first little push of, well, if we get rid of this and nobody says anything, then we can build. So there'll be another 500 houses going up, I would imagine, because that's what they've just done round here. Yeah, they get around the laws, don't they? That's how they do it. Well, they do where I live.
Yeah.
They change it. They say like, oh, it's green belt and you can't build on it and all this, and then, well, if we cut all the trees down on it, and someone eventually will buy it. That's happening to a lot of the areas where there's been sightings, little tiny pieces of land being sold off for no reason, and I keep thinking, but there's a sighting there. That means at some point it's been used as an area for something. There might be a resource there, or and it worries me. These are the things that keep me up at night. Like, are we one day, are we going to just take every piece? When you look at Ireland, there are only sightings on Ireland on the west coast. And when I look on the map, that's because on the east, from the west coast all the way across to the east, it's just farmed. It's just flat, arable fields with very, very little tree cover.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, Debbie. I've got maybe about another 10 years before I retire.
Yeah.
But what I intend to do, sometimes there's some houses up round or near those woods that go up for sale.
Yeah.
And I would intend to buy one. And then get permission to try and build a barn.
Yeah.
On private property.
Yeah, you can, as long as you don't give it a foundation, you can.
I will then build stalls inside, just enough for maybe 18 or 20 of them.
I get what you mean, and just leave it there for them. Yeah.
Sounds a bit crazy, but that's what I'm thinking already.
I'm the same. I keep thinking, if I wrote a book and I made even a single penny from that book, I would buy that piece of land over there, because nobody wants it. It's scrap land. And I'd just fence it off so that no human could get in, and I'd just leave it. And I'd plant wild food there and just leave it for him. And I think there's lots of people with that kind of thinking, where they're thinking, well, I'm going to buy a bit of land and just leave it and let it go wild and let it just go back to nature. So hopefully there's going to always be that balance where there's people like me and you who are thinking, no, you're not building on that. There's no way you're building on that. I'm not letting you. It won't happen. I'll get everybody I know on Facebook to come and protest. If you even, I'd chain myself to think. I'd be like one of the suffragettes, like just lie there in front of the bulldozer and say, no, you're not doing it. I played on this. My kids played on this land, and you're just not. And I don't know how to. It's like a passion, innit? It ends up as a passionate thing, and it's like, no.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, nobody's ever going to kind of buy that and build on it. I'd hate it. If I go down there and this rubbish, it really annoys me.
Yeah.
So I end up...
there's signs up in the trees, saying, from Oxford Council saying, they like the CCTV to monitor fly tipping.
Yeah.
But no one ever fly tips there.
Oh, that's lucky. You're really lucky there. Yeah.
And I just wondered, is it CCTV for something else?
Oh, I get what you mean. Yeah, you don't see the problem, so why are the cameras up?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Christian, who saw the dog-like creature in Bilborough, not far from Nottingham, he mentioned something about an area in cameras. I'll go back and check with him. I'm sure it was like... It was a dump or something like that. It wasn't where you'd expect the cameras to be... Well, you wouldn't really have... I don't know why you'd have cameras on a dump apart from illegal dumping. But these seem to be fixed so that it was to see who was coming into the area, that kind of thing. I'll go and ask him after we've finished talking.
Yeah.
So it's fresh in my mind. And I'll email you. Because I remember him saying that it was something strange about his dad. His dad had noticed that when you went down there. I hope it's Christian. I'm going to have to go back through my emails and double check. It was something strange about when his dad was a lad. You could be on there all the time, nobody bothered. But now it's kind of all fenced off, and it's cameraed, and it's a strange area that you think you'd have cameras on. You know what? You get what I mean? And maybe it is. You might be right. Maybe they are. cameras out there watching him, because you're not the only person who suggested that to me, if you get what I mean. They might already know about them. I mean, I don't know. All that stuff about the Freedom of Information Act from Stafford, that was the first time where I thought, hang on a minute, this is just dodgy. You're telling us in one thing there's 18,000 hits, and within 15 hours you go, oh, no, you can't have them now. You can't put them out there. They're all wrong. Every single one of them's been checked. And you think in the 4 hours that the office would have been open, you've managed to check them all. That was when I started thinking, this is strange. And then John Spence started sending me woodlands where there'd been sightings and they'd gone up. And the little pockets of wood had gone up, and I looked, and like Ofton Wood, where one of them was seen eating, that's gone up. That's been posted. You can't go on there now. And I started seeing a pattern, and I thought, this is really, really strange. So it's just something I'm going to keep my eye on as we go. But like you and your man in blue with a car. That's...
Yeah. I tell you, it's like one of the woods in Norfolk I went to. There were some areas you could go, and some areas they were saying out of bounds to public due to foresting or wood logging.
Yeah. And
you look at it, and it's so overgrown. He was like, well, they've got to be really lazy tree cutters, or or on a public footpath in a wood on the south side of Reading. He said, danger, enter at own risk.
Right.
You know, and you're like, why? What's working along the path?
Exactly.
What?
It happened with Daniela as well. Daniela took us to an area, and suddenly, for no reason at all, it's all been fenced off. And where you used to be able to get in, you can't. And it's really tricky to sneak in.
Yeah.
And we just couldn't work out why. Nobody seems to be able to find out. And I know she did some digging. She went online and, mates checking everything to try and find out why. Yeah. And it's just been posted as kind of do not enter. And there's just this really big thick deer fence all over the place, and you can't really get in anymore. And it's full of pheasant, and there was wild strawberries on the floor as we was walking. It was just full of food. She took a photograph. Unfortunately, she took, as you take a photograph and then you take another photo. She took a photo, and that was the reason we went back there, because there was something in the photograph. And it looks like a figure walking over the crest of a hill. And it was like walking into fairyland. It was lovely. And I thought, I wonder why they've posted something like this and they won't let people... It's been public for years and years and years, and people have always walked it. And then just all of a sudden, no, you're not allowed in there.
Yeah.
And why? Why are we not allowed in there?
It's like when you hear some stories from the US, and the Bureau of Land Management. Yeah. And when there's a lot of werewolf activity, suddenly, these guys pop up and it's all fenced off, and it's suddenly almost like a nature reserve, and it's almost like a federal offence to get found in this area, Whereas before, you could just walk through, and then suddenly, after a heavy event or a sighting, that's it, boom, it's all fenced off.
It is, it's really, really strange. There are accounts, aren't there, of people who have witnessed rangers removing footprints from a path, washing them out with water, because they were there and they went back with a casting and they've gone. That area has been cleaned up and they've gone, and you don't find it again. There's a guy speaks in the Sperry Mountains in Ireland when he says what he saw walking down the hill was followed, what he described as military men. And they seem to be following that creature.
I mean, the sheep that were killed up at Sutton Farm outside Macclesfield last September.
Yeah.
There was not a trace or anything. There was a couple of police beware signs up on some of these very narrow roads up at the moors there, and it's not far from Macclesfield Forest.
Yeah, I know.
And but the place was clean as a whistle.
I went up there with Deb Fellow, and there was some strange. I remember saying, "Has somebody got a dog?" because the dog, you know, when the sheep kick off when it's lambing time and you've got a dog in the field. Where my parents live, it's surrounded by sheep, so you kind of get used to that noise. And I instantly thought, there's a dog off the lead. And I asked if anyone had a dog, and they'd been. I couldn't go up there because, you know, my legs are bad. They went up into the forest, and I just sat down at the bottom. And Glenn sat with me, and then they came back down, and it was really weird because when they came back down, I said, "Is somebody up there with the dog?" And they were all like, "No, no." And the cows, the sheep were just going mental, like something was up there with the dog, and it just stuck in my mind. And then I remember saying to you, "That's really strange," because I was up there with Deb, and you explained about the sheep that had been attacked, kind of thing, and it stuck in my mind because I thought there was something up there that was scaring him, because there was nobody else around because I was sat on the bottom, so they'd have had to pass me to go in, and the researchers were way up at the top in the forest, and it was as they came out, it was as they'd come down the hill a little bit, and then it was behind them, whatever it was behind them, and the sheep just set off. They all moved to the other end of the field. Well, that normally to me means, oh, there's a dog off the lead. And because I thought, it's a bit insensitive, so it's lambing time, we shouldn't do that. But they made a racket, and a real big racket, and when they come down, they all said, no, there's nobody with a dog up there. And it stuck in my mind. I thought, that's strange. There's something scared those sheep. You know, and the mist was that low that day. You couldn't really make much out because the mist there was quite a heavy mist up there, and it was a bit creepy sitting there waiting. I'll be honest. You got that big dark forest at the top, and you see this sheep they went mad. It was like from nothing to this crescendo, and they all moved really quickly. And I thought, that's strange. There must be a big. Like, I was expecting a big Alsatian to come running across the field or something. And it wasn't just, I remember, didn't I send you another article, didn't I, that wasn't far away? Where there was more sheep that had gone. But, that's happening. I think it was 1,500. I might be wrong, actually. I think it was 15,000, because I had to find it and show it Chris, where the Forestry Commission, or the Farmers Commission, had put out how many sheep had been killed in that year. It was astronomical, wasn't it?
Yeah, you know, they only admitted to something like just over 4,000, and then later they actually admitted it was over 15,000.
Yeah. And
the sheep population was 33.3 million.
Exactly. Can you imagine?
I mean, talk about Tesco takeout.
Yeah. The deer population in the UK is pandemic. People don't believe that. They say, oh, no. There was a report went out last week, and I'm not going to say who put it out, and it was a dog man with horns. And when I looked, it was, at the time of the rut, it was September. And it was in the deer park. And it was an American that had put it out, and I thought, they clearly don't know the area, and they don't understand that it is absolutely chock-off with deer down there. In the UK, deer come into cities and urban places and then go back out again. It's absolutely pandemic, the amount of deer that are out there. It's unbelievable. People don't believe you when you tell them. And they say, you think one or two of those missing, you know, and then you take into account all the small protein that's running around, because there's lots of small protein that's running around. Because they wouldn't choose between a rabbit and a rat. It's meat. Protein's protein. It's just what it gets wrapped up in, you know. And there's ample food out there. There's ample food. And, you know, habitat and water and all of the above that you need if they are corporeal. And if they are spiritual, they don't need that, do they? And they might be a bit of both, so they might need both of those areas. I'm a bit of a believer in that they can be whatever they want to be, in all honesty. Yeah.
I mean, I really think, obviously, they've got a wide range of skills.
Yeah.
You know, how the fur or... However, the fur absorbs the light or bends the light. You know, I don't understand the full physics of it all.
I get what you mean, Yeah, it could be the makeup of the hair itself. Yes. It could be the oil on that hair that reflects or refracts the light in some way. Yeah, I get what you mean. It's like when the first man saw a chameleon. It's probably seemed magical. Yeah, but it's an ability, isn't it? I think that's why we see eye glow. I think there's something different about their eyes than ours, and that's why we catch their luminesce the eyes. I don't go for the moneymaker thing that they luminesce them on purpose. I just think they probably got an extra, I don't know, eyes, maybe an extra cone on an extra whatever it is that enables them to see in light that we can't see in, and that's why we catch the reflection of them in the light. You know, that's maybe, and that's why people say, oh, they have this red eye, or to me that seems, that comes up a lot.
I really do think they can somehow switch.
Yeah.
And depending on the light, whether I suppose you might say go in for red, or
they could do.
Past his eye where they can register the heat.
Yeah. I mean, you see Sasquatch flare where it's all one colour, so it's like, and then I think maybe they don't always pick them up on flare. Just I don't know. There's just maybe it's not a magical ability. Maybe it's something about that hair that's like inbuilt ghillie suit that they have. It might be something about that stops them being picked up on flare. Karen Charlton, who doesn't live very far from Cannock, she's got decent flare image of them moving around in the wood, and you can't see them with your own eyes, but you can see them on the flare.
Yeah.
And I hope one day that she puts it out there and lets people have a look at it, because it's it just proves that something can be there in front of your eyes and you can't see it. You know, that hidden in plain sight thing that we say.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm lucky enough to know. I just get like this, like a radar ping in my head.
Yeah.
Like a vibe. I just, I'm thinking, it stood right in front of me, maybe about 10 to 15 feet in front.
Yeah.
Or if they get really close, I just get goosebumps, and the hairs on my neck just kind of go up.
You start to recognise those feelings, though, don't you? It's like you recognise them over time. That's it, and you think, oh, crikey, I've dropped my phone. I hope that wasn't too bad on the audio. Sorry.
No.
Trying to get myself covered. No, I think you do. I think you just pick up on things over time. Because I know a lot of people will say, oh, I feel really anxious when they're around, or and I say, well, make note of that feeling, because when you feel it again, it might be that you're picking up on something that you don't know you're picking up on. It might be your animal brain, as I call it, that's picking up on something in the area that you're not seeing with your eyes or smelling with your nose. And they, as we said earlier, sometimes we just catch them by mistake, don't we, if we're really, really lucky. Yeah. Well, let's say really, really lucky. Some people think they're incredibly unfortunate when they bump into them.
No.
But
in the first few months, I had a couple of encounters where I was literally petrified.
Yeah.
And then, they get used to you, you get used to them.
Yeah.
And, I was essentially once before when I was in Sahawi Forest. I mean, I thought I had a certain level of confidence where, I could just walk in anywhere. But the Forest of Dean was a real scary day. And I just suddenly realised that out of my own comfort zone, I'm still like a fish out of water. Yeah. But when I'm in my own area,
I'm saying.
That sort of blasé approach is quite fine. I don't feel scared anymore. I feel quite relaxed, even sometimes slightly welcome.
Yeah. I agree. And in somebody else's area, or an area you've not been in before, it can have a whole different feel.
Yes.
Yeah. I think maybe it is because you're picking up on something. Because our brain assesses things without us even realising. When we walk into an area, your brain maps smells, noise, whatever's going on around you. And you get that feeling for a reason. There's been lots of research done into that feeling of being watched. And they basically, after spending millions, decided that it happens because you are being watched. But we could have told them that, we might. But if you get that feeling that you're being watched in an area, then you probably are. In all honesty.
Yeah.
Sounds. I mean, I don't want to scare people, and I don't want to put people off. But if you're in an area and you just be sensible, if you're in an area and you feel like you shouldn't be there and you're really, really scared, well, just walk out a little bit. Just come out of that area a little bit. And just stay within your comfort zone. And then just kind of build it up over time. And just go with a friend if you're a bit scared of going on your own. Like, just you know, and go somewhere you know the first time, so you know the area, because like you said, people are a bit more comfier, aren't they, in an area that they know. Yeah. Right, so if it's okay with you, I'm going to send the second video over to Chris now, because the first one's gone over.
Oh, good.
But don't hang up on me. But I'm just going to say good night to everybody. And then as soon as I've got this video of Chris, I will definitely put it up on YouTube, whatever the analysis is, and I will pop it up on YouTube for you all to see. So until next time, Mike will be coming back. So good night, everybody.